Then it seemed to, when I started having artists come in here and talk about what they do and play, it seemed to kind of mirror that world.
Interesting.
Yeah, like going and writing songs, and again, I don't know this because I don't do what you do, Avery, but writing songs and getting up on a stage and playing them by yourself, trying to get gigs at venues, trying to step up to the next level of venue or whatever. That seems like a tough row to hoe.
Well, I think what's hardest for me is that it's pretty unpredictable. You just never know when that chance is going to come. It's not the kind of career that you can plan out the way that when I was growing up, I was such a planner. When I was growing up, I said, oh, and then I'll go to this college, and then after college, I'm going to go and do this, and then I'm going to spend, oh, and by then I'll be married and I'll have a family. You know, and I never really believed that any of that was going to happen, but it was always nice to think that I could sort of plan or think in that kind of arc, if you will. And if there's one thing that being a songwriter has taught me is that you can't predict what's going to happen in your career the same way that you can't decide, oh, now I'm going to write this kind of song. You know, it's all, you have to, it really forces you to live in a very volatile relationship with the world. But that's what makes it so beautiful. I think that's what makes the songs good. Otherwise, we're just writing the same thing over and over again. You have to let yourself be surprised.
And before I got more involved in music by doing the show, when I was just a consumer of music, listening to records that came out, it was always the big break. Like the bands got their big break and then signed to a record, and that's why I was listening to it. But now doing the show, like, it's not really a big break. It's like a series of small breaks,
well,
that could break you to a bigger audience.
Yeah.
You know? Like every little thing is like a little break that gets you a little further and further ahead.
Right. It seems to me, and this is a very naive opinion, and I mean, because I haven't been around terribly long and I'm still learning as I go, but it seems to me like the breaks that people are making these days are much bigger and not as common. And so there are a lot of people left as independent artists who far prefer to be independent artists, but it creates more of a DIY kind of career, and so you accept a lot of responsibility for how you grow. And what I've seen is, I think independent artists grow more slowly and their fight is maybe a little bit harder, but I think in the grand scheme of things they have much more longevity because they've built a following based on personal relationships and the really hard work that they've done of this DIY career. Whereas musicians that have a really big break early on, I think, they have a hard time keeping their longevity. I mean, we always joke about, oh man, remember that band from when I was in the 6th grade? They had that one song and
yeah, definitely.
That was it. And that's not to say that the song was good or bad or anything. It's just sort of an interesting trend to watch in the music business at the moment, I think.
I was reading an article